Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. So today I'm gonna take a couple minutes. I want to talk to you guys about a concept that when I first heard about it, I was really excited. It's a big eye opener, and I think it's applicable to most people because it's referring to a default setting in the human brain. Okay, so we're gonna discuss very briefly this concept of self-referential processing. Self-referential processing. Okay, so if you haven't heard of it, Google it. The wiki is probably pretty accurate. Okay, you can check it out, but its application is pretty neat. So just imagine this. Now, almost all of us have been in this scenario, right, where you're laying down and in the middle of the night you kind of wake up and your brain is just spinning, right? You're thinking about this conversation at work, this conversation in a relationship, or this situation with a friend, whatever it is. Your brain is just turning, or the wheels are just turning on this situation, how the outcome could have been different, how maybe you could have said something better or wittier or smarter or a better retort or whatever it might be, right? Or that's one scenario, right? And it sucks because you can't sleep. Or think in terms of like when you're just sitting there and you've got a test coming up, or maybe you want to ask somebody out, or maybe you whatever it is, some future event, and your mind then goes to that event and it just starts running through the infinite possibilities of that are infinite outcomes, right? So this is what the brain does. This is a default setting in the brain where it takes the idea of self that we have of ourselves, our self-conceptualization, and it projects it and are in reference to other things, right? To things, to people, to situations. And so it's like this neurologic time travel wherein we go back in time in our minds and we ruminate and we think through and we try to we observe and analyze these situations that have already passed, right? So it's an incredible adaptive skill in terms of survival for humanity. But in today's world, what do we get, right? We get anxiety, we get stress, we get sleepless nights, and we get all these negative health effects because we don't know how to shut off this default setting known as self-referential processing, right? So when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, that happens. That happens to me all the time, right? I don't sleep well, and I'm just concerned and I'm worried. I'm not your stereotypical anxious person by any means, but I know this experience very, very well, right? As I'm sure most of you guys do. So anyway, so some of the best ways to deal with this self-referential processing is it's mindfulness. Okay, so neurons that neurons that fire together wire together, right? That's this idea of neuroplasticity and the brain's ability to change and to adapt, right, to situations. So what we get is when we are constantly allowing this default setting to kind of run the show, we have this kind of neuro program that just runs on its own. It's a habit, default, it just runs. So in order to change that, we have to develop a new neural pathway of mindfulness and being in the present moment, right? Because if we look at self-referential processing, it's all about hypotheticals, right? So going back in time or going into the future, right? So we need to ground in the present moment, okay? And as we do that more and more through time, then we develop that neurological habit, and it's an easy pathway for us to follow, and it pulls us out of this, and we're able to release and let go. So kind of what this, one of the ways that I've learned to deal with this mindfulness stuff is getting grounded in your physical body, right? The present moment is incredibly sensual, right? So there's sounds, and it's very sensory rich, I should say, right? Sounds, touch, things you're touching, what you're feeling inside your body, your emotions. There's so much data that the brain is processing in the present moment, and you just kind of have to tune in to what's really happening with you, and it'll ground you and it'll bring you into what's happening right now, right? And that is incredibly powerful when you're dealing with other humans too. If you are grounded and you're engaged with that person, you are going to be more effective in communicating, you know, and receiving what they're putting down. You know what I mean? Also, as a student, for those of you who are students, getting grounded in your body and in your senses in class is incredibly powerful, right? Because it activates the mind into what's going on now. You will retain more. It's a great practice for those purposes alone. But with time and then some consistent meditative practice, you can Google different meditative practices, but consistent meditative practice, you develop this habit of one, being mindful and present now. And then also this neurologic pathway for allowing you to release things like rumination in the middle of the night, right? That'll help with a meditative practice will help you with that. So anyway, man, I was just really stoked about this idea that I don't have to be a slave or subject to this unruly mind of mine. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful to some of you guys. Give it a shot.